The Sooners get another one, a commitment, but this time in the 2025 class. We'll break it down, what it means for Oklahoma, and maybe the 2024 class as well on tonight's episode of Locked On Sooners.
You are Locked On Sooners, your daily podcast on the Oklahoma Sooners, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, Sooner Nation? Welcome to Locked On Sooners, and thank you for making Locked On Sooners your first listen every single day. Today's episode is brought to you by LinkedIn Jobs. Some days, every potential hire can feel like a high-stakes wager for your small business. That's why LinkedIn Jobs helps find the right people for your team faster and for free. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. Terms and conditions apply. He's Josh Helmer. Follow him on Twitter at JoshOnRef. I'm John Williams. Follow me on Twitter at John9Williams. You can follow the show on Twitter at Locked On Sooners. And I will emphasize Twitter. We're not calling it that other thing. I saw a great meme that was like, it's dad and mom named him Twitter. So that's what I'm going to call it. Anyway, we're going to get off the start with another commitment, Josh. But this time in the 2025 recruiting cycle, Kamari Moore of Lee Summit North, a defensive tackle prospect, and you listed anywhere from 6'1", 295 to 6'1", 310 as a rising junior in the 2025 class. Oklahoma gets him, rated as a 3-star prospect with On3, unrated with 247 and Rivals, but starting to pick up some offers in the Power 5 levels. Got him from Iowa State and Nebraska. So an intriguing prospect for the Oklahoma Sooners, especially along the defensive line at defensive tackle. Now you're looking at back-to-back classes in 2024 with Jaden Jackson and 2025 with Kamari Moore that bring you that legit nose tackle type guy.
Yeah, I mean, definite zero tech type guy, right? One tech if you want to play him there, but the definition of, hey, line me up over the center, I'm going to go plug some gaps. But, you flip on the tape, and at times I'm going to rush the passer as well. But it's like you flip on Kamari Moore's tape, and keep in mind, just sophomore tape. There's a lot more of it to come. Can't wait to see what that junior film looks like as you get a little bit older, get a little bit stronger. And all of those things just naturally happen. Can't wait to see what the recruiting rankings wind up as when you get that true first 2025 batch for Kamari Moore. I know, you kind of, depending on where you look, you're at the point where you got some rankings for some prospects, but generally speaking, it's so early, you don't have a ton out there. This Kamari Moore looks like somebody that definite high 3-star, 4-star type talent. I mean, I don't know, right? I'm not in the business of constantly ranking recruits, but to me, I mean, no doubt 3-star, high-end 3-star, and probably 4-star talent by the time it's all said and done for Kamari Moore. Like what I've seen, can't wait to see more. And it's like you flip on the tape, John, and I swear 90% of the plays, there's a turnover that happens somewhere, whether it's he gets into the backfield and directly forces it, or it's chucked down the field and defensive backs winding up with an interception, in part because of the pressure or the disruption of Kamari Moore. It's easy to see why the offer sheet looks like it looks like early. And from sort of the folks in the know, what you read or you hear out there is that probably the reason that there aren't more offers involved for Kamari Moore right now is because it was pretty obvious all along that Oklahoma was a healthy leader.
And that's a great sign, I think, for Oklahoma, in that you're starting to see this more and more with Kevin Sperry, with Gracen Harris, who are part of this 2025 recruiting class as well, that once that Oklahoma offer comes, it moves the needle in such a way that they're not really considering anything else. I mean, there's several other 2025 prospects that could be the case for. A guy like Gus Cordova, who received his offer a few weeks ago, and then immediately predictions were being put in favoring the Sooners. So it's kind of a good vibe to have if you're Oklahoma, that you stand out in such a significant way that some of these really, really talented prospects, that's it. That's all they needed. They needed that Oklahoma offer like they needed air, and they're good to go once they've got that offer in, and they don't really need to see much else. So you get a defensive tackle prospect who's able to create pressure from the interior, and that's such a key aspect of defensive line play. I mean, you can get edge rushers up the field, coming around the edge, bending around offensive tackles and creating pressure. But if the quarterback has a place to step up to into the pocket, they don't have to worry about interior defensive line pressure. They can avoid edge pressure. It's avoidable. That Tom Brady made his career off of it. Where he ran into trouble in the playoffs was when there was interior pressure. Patrick Mahomes, he's one of the greatest, most elusive quarterbacks we've seen, great pocket presence. But if there's interior pressure, it just disrupts everything that he wants to do as a quarterback. Now, he's able to beat it sometimes still, but it makes life really difficult. So getting guys that can provide that interior pressure, have quick first steps, they're agile and strong and able to beat double teams, man, that's absolutely huge. And I love that they're really trying to stack athletic defensive tackle types with quick twitch, in several classes. Ashton Sanders, he's a guy that's going to play interior defensive tackle. We're looking at, we got Jaden Jackson, looking at a David Stone, maybe Dominic McKinley, and Nigel Smith is a guy that can bump inside and play there too. Willams Nwaneri can bump inside as well if they end up landing those guys on the recruiting trail. And then you get Kamari Moore, who is just the start. Like, Oklahoma is not going to be shy about continually adding defensive talent and really talent across the board. There might be classes where they go a little bit heavier in one position than another, but a lot of it will just depend on the class. But to get a guy who, one, is eager to be at Oklahoma, is going to be a very no drama recruitment. You don't have to spend a ton of resources now recruiting Kamari Moore because you got him in the boat. He's 1000% committed. And this was the one that moved the needle the most for him. You don't have to spend as many resources recruiting him. The same goes for Kevin Sperry. Like, you've got Kevin Sperry in the boat. You don't have to spend a ton of time recruiting a kid like that because he wants to be at Oklahoma so much that he transferred to a school in Oklahoma just to be closer to campus for the next couple of years. So, like, having these kind of low profile, low drama, no tension, no stress, recruitments that end up in commitments, man, that's huge for this coaching staff because they are having to spend a lot of time and a lot of attention, especially in the 2024 class, on a particular set of guys that we hope will make their commitments known in the next couple weeks or 5 weeks or so. But yeah, Kamari Moore, like, don't let the star status fool you. Don't let the not being rated part fool you. The kid's a player. He plays on a really good defensive line, but he's a good defensive lineman in his own right. And he's only going to be a junior this year.
Well, and as you hit on, I mean, it's just nice for Oklahoma, who we know what June and July will have in store, just like they've had in store for Oklahoma in 2022, just like they've had in store for Oklahoma in 2023. Got a pretty good idea of where we're going to be at a year from now in 2024 in the months of June and July. That's where Oklahoma is they're going to make their hay there. But yet, to not be in the situation that Oklahoma was in this 2024 cycle, where Oklahoma waited until March and late March to get the commitment from Jeremiah Newcomb. And then, of course, that set off an avalanche here where you've had 16 commits from that point forward. But for OU to operate a little bit differently, right? I mean, hey, we know, again, what June, July is going to look like for Oklahoma based on just what it's been these last couple of classes of the Brent Venables regime. That's still a welcome little departure for Oklahoma to make a little bit of its money early in a recruiting class, to get a Kevin Sperry on board, and then to go combine that with, obviously a talented wide receiver, which maybe I'm jumping ahead here, what this Kamari Moore commitment means for the 25 class. And John, what it could mean. I know there's some angst out there for the 24 class, but yeah, what this means in the 25 class. And then, yeah, maybe what it means in 24 too.
And we're going to dish on that because there's a lot of angst, let's say, about the 2024 defensive line recruitments out there in the social media sphere. We'll touch on some of that, but we'll talk about what it means for Willams Nwaneri to get another Lee Summit North commitment. Again, Caden Green, already on campus, has a great chance to be a contributor early. You get a commitment from Kamari Moore, Lee Summit North, and now you're in hot pursuit for Willams Nwaneri, and also for Isaiah Mose, a player in the 2025 class, wide receiver from Lee Summit North. So the pipeline is created. How much bigger can you make it? How much wider can you create the pipeline from Lee Summit North? We'll talk about that after we talk to you about our friends over at LinkedIn. These days, every new potential hire can feel like a high stakes wager for your small business. You want to be 100% certain that you have access to the best qualified candidates available. That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs helps find the right people for your team faster and for free. Imagine being an interviewer, much like a Brent Venables, and you get a year, 2 years to spend time, interviewing potential hires and prospects and people that you want to use to fill your position. You don't have that. You don't have that much time to fill your open slots. So you've got to rely on great questions, great screening tools like LinkedIn provides to make your job more efficient in hiring new people for your small business. So go to linkedin.com/lockedoncollege, use the purple hashtag hiring frame, add it to your LinkedIn profile to spread the word that you're hiring. They have simple tools like screening questions that make it easy to focus on candidates with just the right skills and experience so you can quickly prioritize who you'd like to interview and hire. That's why small businesses rate LinkedIn Jobs #1 in delivering quality hire versus leading competitors. So go to LinkedIn Jobs. They'll help you find the qualified candidates that you want to talk to faster. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. That's linkedin.com/lockedoncollege to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. So, Josh, what does it mean for Willams Nwaneri, the Lee Summit North prospect, #1 player in the On3 rankings, a top 5 player everywhere else, one of the best players in the 2024 recruiting class? And yeah, I mean, he's going to go visit Oregon. That's a thing that's happening. But again, with Brent Venables, we got to get all these visits out of the way before we get a commitment. And based on the buzz, it sounds like proximity is a big selling point for the Nwaneri family. That's important to them, proximity to the Kansas City area. So it seems, in my opinion, now I'm not speaking for the Nwaneri family, but it seems outside of the value system, or at least outside of what they're valuing in their recruitment, to go all the way up to the Pacific Northwest when Missouri is just right there and Oklahoma is just right there.
Sure. If all of that is true, then that would be advantage Oklahoma versus Oregon. Now, an unofficial visit that may or may not was going to happen with Willams Nwaneri to the University of Oklahoma that, well, is not happening for this reason or another. Probably many of you are aware what the situation might be there with Willams Nwaneri. Feel however you want to feel about that, right? I mean, I wouldn't define that as good news for Oklahoma. It's late in the recruitment. I get why it would concern some Oklahoma fans and would maybe make folks think, if proximity is a factor, that's a positive maybe for Missouri. I'd like to live in the positivity camp, John. And as we say, what does Kamari Moore mean for Oklahoma, and what does it mean for Willams Nwaneri? Look, not everything's a package deal. We know that in recruitments. But to me, yeah, I feel better about Oklahoma's chances to land somebody in Willams Nwaneri that we have felt good about for a long time. So one situation arises where you thought somebody was coming to visit campus and all of a sudden they don't. I'm not going to totally hit the panic button and cry foul on everything. I'm going to remain positive that Oklahoma's in a good position in this recruitment. And oh, by the way, I'm going to say Kamari Moore, John, joining Oklahoma's 25 class, a teammate of Willams Nwaneri. Absolutely, I'm putting stock into the fact that's great news for Oklahoma. Again, is this a package deal? Do I sign up today that Kamari Moore's commitment means, hey, Nwaneri's right around the corner? No, I'm not telling you that, but I am saying, don't live in the complete negativity world. This is good news for Oklahoma.
Yeah, and again, you got Caden Green, you got Kamari Moore, you got proximity. Those are the things that you have working in your favor. You've got a great relationship with Todd Bates and Miguel Chavis. You got a great relationship with Brent Venables. And he's only visited Oregon. Well, this will be the only visit that he's made to Oregon. He was scheduled to go on an official visit in September, moved that up. And again, this is just reading the tea leaves, trying to see the signs, but I'm going to take that to mean that he wanted to get all the visits out of the way and be done before the season started so he can make his decision. And again, we know where Brent Venables stands on this. Get your visits in, then make your commitment. Let's not play around. And so I'm not going to take it as a negative thing necessarily that he's going to visit Oregon and not Oklahoma. I mean, he's been to Norman 4 times, according to Rivals. Most recently back on June 9th. Again, hasn't visited Oregon, according to Rivals. Went to Georgia early June, Missouri, middle of June, Tennessee, middle of June. So he's gotten all of these other big time visits out of the way. Now Oregon's the last little box he has to check on his recruitment before he's willing or able to make a decision on what he wants to do with his college career. So I'm not necessarily going to even take it as a negative thing that he's going to Oregon versus Oklahoma. At this point, like, what more does he need to hear from Oklahoma? Probably nothing. He's probably heard it all. He's probably got all the sales pitch. He's probably got a great understanding of how he's going to be utilized in Brent Venables' defense. He has the relationships already, locked in. Like, those are really good relationships that he has. And that's not going to change just because he goes to visit Oregon. But he doesn't have that Oregon visit done. He doesn't know that he knows that he knows that he knows that it's Oklahoma. And the only way that he knows that is by making sure that Oregon is done, that he's checked the box, that he's visited with Dan Lanning. Obviously they're going to make a great pitch, and they've got that Nike bag of cash in NIL that they're going to be able to throw at Willams Nwaneri. At the same time, I don't think that Oklahoma is going to be struggling on the NIL front if that's important to Willams Nwaneri at all. I don't think that's going to be an issue. And so with everything that is at play here, I'm still feeling really confident, and I'm going to feel confident until he signs and faxes in the papers with somebody else that it's going to be Oklahoma, because of the relationships and because of what they're building right now. Like, they're building something that's going to be a historic class, and it's already gotten started with Wyatt Gilmore and with Jaden Jackson. And it's going to continue to go that direction as we continue to build this thing. I mean, Nigel Smith getting the crystal ball yesterday. The future on the defensive line is looking really, really nice. Why wouldn't Willams Nwaneri want to be a part of that? Yes, Dan Lanning, a great defensive coach. I'm not going to sit here and say he's not. But Brent Venables is a great defensive coach in his own right, with a great track record of putting guys into the NFL for over 2 decades. And so there's a lot that's still working in Oklahoma's favor in this recruitment. And again, I'm not going to sit here and poo-poo any of this. Man, take your visit. Go see Oregon. It's a beautiful place, like, especially this time of year when it's stupid hot in Oklahoma and Texas and Missouri. Like, Oregon's really nice right now. Get up there, enjoy some cool weather, get your visit in, get all the information you got to get, come back, make that commitment to Oklahoma, and let's get on with it.
I'm with you. And again, if you live in the world that Oklahoma's been leading this thing for a long time and has had prediction after prediction coming in its direction along the way, then you should still feel confident in that regard. And oh, by the way, not to make a recruiting pitch here, but if I'm Kamari Moore, I would make a little bit of a recruiting pitch here to just say, business been pretty good for the two of us playing together. I can make your life easier. You can make my life easier. Isn't it just nice to have talented teammates, and you can have that in Norman, Oklahoma? So yeah, Oklahoma, like you said, I mean, I think everything you evaluate in that recruitment now mixing in the Kamari Moore factor for Oklahoma, there's a lot of positives for Oklahoma in the Nwaneri recruitment. So I would definitely define Kamari Moore. That decision absolutely is good news on the Nwaneri front. Has to be.
Yeah. And I think it's going to continue to be good news for Oklahoma. I'm just excited that we're starting to get towards the end of some of these big recruiting battles. Now, I know we've got a little more than 5 months left a little more than 4 months left until the early signing period. And so a lot can change, a lot can transpire. Oklahoma's got to go play a football season, which we both think that they're going to win a lot of games in and solidify a lot of these recruits' belief in Brent Venables and what he's putting in place in Norman. So to me, things are trending up, 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 up. And like Michael Jordan said, what is it? The roof is the ceiling. There is no ceiling, basically. We're going to keep on going. And I mean, with what they've done already, and they've still got several 5-star prospects that they could land in this class. I mean, it's got the chance to be an incredible class by the time it's all said and done. And we're going to look back come February, National Signing Day, February of 2024, and be like, how did they pull that off? It's going to be incredible. Looking to 2023, Josh, we've got a little bit of rankings discussion to talk about. Over at Heartland Sports, our guy Brian Clinton came up with his top Big 12 quarterbacks, or he ranked every Big 12 quarterback. Dillon Gabriel came in at number 1. Does that surprise you at all, Josh?
No. The production is there. The offensive weapons, though unproven, he's got great offensive weapons around him. He's got a fantastic offensive coordinator in Jeff Levy. We like what Oklahoma's done with its offensive line. So the tools, the pieces are in place for Dillon Gabriel again to have another 3,200, 3,300 plus type of passing season where you've got 25 plus or more types of passing touchdowns with, again, low interception numbers. So no, to me, I mean, look, he's got the proven track record. He did it before Oklahoma with UCF. He's done it at Oklahoma in 1 year. And now just the continuity of a second season with everything that's going to be in place around him. I think he's the best quarterback on paper in the Big 12. I like Will Howard a lot. I see the potential in a Quinn Ewers. Wouldn't rank Ewers in front of Gabriel myself, though. Beyond that, I mean, who else do you love? Shuck, the injury concerns, does that scare you away a little bit there? Or even if you say Shuck is just completely healthy, I'm probably taking Dillon Gabriel, right? So across the board of the Big 12, yeah, I think Gabriel is proven production, top guy in this league.
Yeah, it's easy to go that route because he's got the experience. Like you said, he's got the production. But the only one that would make sense to put above him is the guy that came in at number 2, and that's Jalen Daniels, the Big 12 offensive newcomer or offensive player of the year for the preseason, first-team quarterback. But again, with Jalen Daniels, like there's a lot of sizzle right there. And I mean, he's been fantastic when he's played. It's just he hasn't played a lot. And there's been a little bit of up and down play at times as well. So I think I'm with you that Dillon Gabriel kind of is probably the higher floor of the two quarterbacks, just because we know what we're going to get with Dillon Gabriel for the most part. With Jalen Daniels, you know you're going to get something spectacular. You just hope you're going to get it for a full 12 games in a regular season. So any other quarterbacks that you'd be interested to know where they were? Quinn Ewers came in at number 3, Will Howard at number 4. You mentioned Tyler Shuck. He comes at number 6. They ranked John Reese Plumlee of UCF at number 5, which I think is an interesting talent because he's a dual threat player. He led UCF in rushing yards last year. So very, very intriguing prospect. I just don't know if he's going to have the same kind of an impact against some of the Big 12 defenses this year.
We'll see what happens with a Chandler Morris at TCU. Shapen, initially there was a lot of excitement that obviously cooled in a big way a season ago. He's still the starter at Baylor, but let's see if year 2 is legitimately going to be kind of what we thought, or some of us thought Shapen would be, or if it's more of the same and all of a sudden he's in the business of getting replaced. So there's options, I guess, at a TCU or a Baylor where you look at Morris and Shapen and say, okay, I've seen some good, but will it be consistently great over the course of the season? Probably not ready to sign up for that with either of those two, but the season always has surprises somewhere, right? So in the sense that I look at it and say there's a clear defined, feels like top 4 in the Big 12, I think that part was right. Whichever way you want to rank Gabriel, Daniels, Ewers, and Howard, I mean, those feel like the top 4. And then the rest of it, okay, let's see what happens this year and how the rest of it sorts itself out.
One guy I think everybody's kind of sleeping on a little bit, and that's Donovan Smith, who transferred from Texas Tech to Houston. This dude is a gamer. You know, yeah, he may not be the most proficient passer, but because of his wheels and his legs, like he's going to beat some teams that people may not expect Houston to beat this year. I mean, he was a big part in Texas Tech beating Texas at one point. Like he is I won't say incredible, but he's one of my favorite quarterbacks to watch because he's tough. He runs the ball really, really well, and he can make enough throws that can beat you if you're not careful. He came in at number 13 in these rankings. Again, I think people are sleeping on him a little bit, and just behind him was Garrett Green at number 14. I don't think we need to talk about Garrett Green and what he did to Oklahoma last year. Still having nightmares of him bouncing off of tackles from a wore out, tired Oklahoma Sooners defense. You mentioned Chapin. He came in at number 7, just ahead of Chandler Morris at TCU. Keaton Slovis was at number 9. And I think this is probably just an experience factor. You know, he's played a lot of football, been, to USC, been at Pitt, but I'm kind of in a show me at this point. Same with a guy like Alan Bowman, who was ranked 11th. I need him to show me that he can stay healthy for a full year. When he's played, I mean, he took Oklahoma to the brink a few years back. I remember that he was playing great football until he got injured. I want to say it was like a spleen laceration or something. He took a real hard hit to his abdomen, and he wasn't able to finish the game. But the dude's tough, man, and he can play. I just need to see him stay healthy. I think that's been his biggest Achilles heel. No pun intended. For his college career is just the inability to stay on the field. But again, he's got a lot of talent, so it'll be interesting to see there. Hunter Deckers came in at number 10. So I think it's not all off. I think there's some areas where you could definitely have some questions, but otherwise I think it's a pretty solid list.
Yeah, and I would maybe amend to a degree the statement I made earlier. I would have Shuck in the top 5, and to me, he would be among that group as well. So those 5 sort of in there defined, think they're pretty doggone good category, and then everything else. And Bowman, the injury concerns scare you, and obviously he's not been able to really piece, and it's just unfortunate. Unfortunately, you do have to factor that in. I think to some degree with the quarterbacks, we've seen good, really pretty good play from Alan Bowman when he's been able to be healthy at times. So I think for me, I would bump him up a little bit sort of in the direction of both Morris and Chapin. And you could probably make an argument to me that he would rank above each of those two if you really, really wanted to get into the weeds on the thing. But again, I think there's that top 4, top 5, and then after that, it's like just tossing darts.
Yeah, I think there's a clear 3 tiers. You mentioned the first one. Then there's that Chapin, John Reese Plumlee, Chandler Morris, Alan Bowman tier. And then there's, the Emory Jones, Donovan Smith, the Garrett Greens, Hunter Deckers, guys that, okay, you've shown some things at times, but we need to see you more consistent over the course of a year. It's going to be fun, man. The Big 12 is going to be a lot of fun this year. And the Big 12 looks like it's going to get a lot more fun too, with potentially the addition of Colorado. It's being reported that Colorado is going to join the Big 12. We didn't get a chance to talk about that tonight, but maybe we could save that for another episode of Locked On Sooners coming down the road. But that's going to do it for today's episode. Thank you so much for joining us and being a part of the show. Thank you for subscribing to the show wherever you get your podcasts. We're free and available on all platforms: Apple, Google, Spotify, Amazon Prime, Audible, wherever you get your podcasts. Want to listen to them, we've got you covered. You can find us, just search Locked On Sooners in your podcast feed. You can also follow us on Facebook. Yep, Locked On Sooners Podcast, or on YouTube. You can also hit that notification button to let you know when new episodes drop. Follow the show on Twitter. We also have a new Discord server, Discord channel, where we're having great conversation with Sooner Nation about recruiting and OU football. And I'm sure as basketball, baseball, softball, and all that heats up, we'll discuss that as well. But so we'll drop the link in the podcast description and the YouTube description. We'll share it out on Twitter as well. But make sure you go over there, join the server. It's for free. It's just fun. Way to interact with Josh and I and other Sooner fans across different social media platforms, all coming together on Discord. It's an easy app available for you in your Google Play Store, Apple. You can download it for your laptop if you want to. I've got it on mine. But go check it out. Discord, Locked On Sooners. We'll share the link in our descriptions. But until next time, he's Josh Helmer. I'm John Williams. Can't wait to talk to you then. Boomer Sooner.